For 5 long years, she stood beside him, holding his hand through every moment of suffering, only to watch her own children turn against her when it was over. I've witnessed countless cases in my career, but nothing prepared me for the heartbreak this mother carried into the courtroom that day. A 62-year-old widow stepped forward, dressed in a faded floral outfit, clearly bought secondhand. In her hands, she clutched two things tightly: a worn leather Bible that once belonged to her late husband, and a manila folder filled with handwritten medical records. Her hands trembled, her eyes hollow from months of grief and sleepless nights. She sat alone at the plaintiff's table, gripping that Bible as though it was the last thing tethering her to reality. Moments later, the courtroom doors opened again. Three individuals entered, dressed in expensive designer clothing, outfits that likely cost more than what most families spend on groceries in half a year. They walked in with confidence, almost arrogance. But these weren't strangers. They were her children, her own son and two daughters, moving as if this courtroom was just another stop in their busy lives. Within minutes, the eldest son would utter something so cruel, so unforgivable about his dying father, that even the bailiff would struggle to remain composed. But what made this case truly devastating was something the children didn't know. 3 days before their father passed away, when his body was failing and his voice barely more than a whisper, he used the last of his strength to record a video message, a final act of love, a warning, a shield for the woman who had sacrificed everything for him. And Judge Judy had already seen it. She had been waiting for the exact moment to reveal it. Before that moment unfolded, the case began like any other. The file read: Margaret Sullivan versus Robert Sullivan, Jennifer Martinez, and David Sullivan. The claim: $47,000 for stolen inheritance funds. But that description barely scratched the surface. This was about a woman who gave up her entire life to care for her husband after he was diagnosed with ALS, a disease that slowly shuts down the body while leaving the mind painfully aware. For 5 years, Margaret became his full-time caregiver. She bathed him when he could no longer move, fed him through a tube when swallowing became impossible, turned him every 2 hours, day and night, to prevent painful sores. For 3 years, she slept on the floor beside his hospital bed. Listening for any change in his breathing, she sold their vacation home to fund treatments, drained her retirement savings to afford the equipment that kept him comfortable. And she documented everything, every medication, every meal, every moment of those 1,825 days of constant care. Across from her sat her children: Robert, 36, a corporate attorney in Manhattan, sharp suit, expensive watch, calculated demeanor. He hadn't visited his mother since the funeral. Jennifer, 33, a successful real estate agent, dressed in luxury, her attention drifting constantly to her phone. She lived just 20 minutes away from her mother, yet hadn't contacted her in months. And David, the youngest, restless in his seat, an entrepreneur whose failed ventures had been funded by his parents. He avoided his mother's eyes, guilt written all over him. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Judge Judy looked up from the case file, her gaze sharp and focused. Mrs. Sullivan, she began, you're suing your own children for $47,000. Tell me what happened. Margaret's voice shook. But she spoke with dignity. She explained her husband's illness, the years of care, the sacrifices, and then the life insurance policy, $150,000 left entirely to her. That money was meant to cover debts, funeral costs, and allow her to finally rest. But just 2 weeks after the funeral, Robert came to her with documents and claims. He insisted their father had wanted the money divided among the children. Her daughters supported him. Lost in grief, confused and vulnerable, Margaret believed them. She gave each child $15,000, and within 2 months, she couldn't afford basic necessities. Judge Judy listened carefully, reviewing the handwritten logs. You kept excellent records, she noted. Margaret nodded. I had to, Your Honor. People question everything when money is involved. The attention then shifted to the defendants. Robert spoke confidently, dismissing the situation as a misunderstanding. He claimed their father had verbally intended to split the money. Judge Judy's questions were precise. Was there a will? No. Any written proof? No. Her tone sharpened. So 2 weeks after your father's death, you convinced your grieving mother to give you money based on nothing but your word. Robert bristled. But she wasn't finished. Jennifer was next. How often did you visit your father in his final year? The answer, 5 times. Yet you found time to collect $15,000. Jennifer faltered, claiming she had her own responsibilities. And did you contribute financially to his care? Judge Judy asked. Silence. Then came David. He admitted he still hadn't repaid $30,000 his parents had loaned him. Yet he, too, accepted another $15,000. The courtroom grew tense. Then Margaret introduced new evidence, a handwritten letter from her husband. Judge Judy read it aloud. It spoke of love, gratitude, acknowledgement of her sacrifices, and a clear message. The insurance money was meant for her. The courtroom was silent, but then came the text messages. Messages between the children discussing how to approach their mother, how to present a united front, how much to ask for. The intent was undeniable. Judge Judy turned back to Robert. What were you thinking? He attempted to justify himself, suggesting their mother didn't need the money. Then he crossed a line. With shocking indifference, he referred to his father as someone who had become a vegetable. The reaction was immediate. Gasps echoed. The bailiff froze. Margaret broke down completely. Judge Judy went still. Her voice, when it came, was quiet but cutting. What did you just call your father? Robert tried to recover, claiming it was a medical term, but the damage was done. Judge Judy reminded him of everything his father had done for him and everything his mother had endured. Then, slowly, she reached for a folder. There's something this courtroom needs to see. She signaled the bailiff. The video began. On screen appeared Thomas Sullivan, frail, weak but fully aware. His voice was soft, strained, but filled with clarity. He spoke directly to his wife. He revealed that Robert had once approached him, asking him to change the insurance beneficiary. When he refused, Robert suggested having him declared mentally incompetent. The courtroom was stunned. Thomas continued. He spoke of Margaret's devotion, her sacrifices, her unwavering love, and he made one thing clear: the money was hers, not the children's. He warned her not to be manipulated, not to feel guilt, to protect herself. The video ended. Silence filled the room. Judge Judy let it linger. Then she spoke. Her judgment was firm. Margaret was awarded the full $47,000 plus court costs, an additional $50,000. Thousand in punitive damages was added for emotional distress and financial exploitation. Total $97,000. But it didn't stop there. The case was referred for criminal investigation, and Robert, as an attorney, would be reported for ethical violations. Finally, Judge Judy turned to Margaret. Her tone softened. "You honored your vows in a way few people ever do," she said. "Your husband knew he was loved. That is something no one can take away." The gavel struck. Court was adjourned, and in that moment, justice wasn't just served, it was felt.